right? When you change beliefs, right, and now you have a belief you think is true, then it only makes sense that you would look down on that previous belief and be like, oh, I can't believe that I thought that thing was right.
There's kind of the stereotype that, Calvinists are mean or prideful or something along those lines. I even have some quotes I found from a specific Calvinist from the Gospel Coalition. And it says, "Why are Calvinists so mean?" And it says, "Unfortunately, that having this experience, which is going from non-Calvinist to Calvinist, can be a huge temptation to pride, where the one now enlightened by Calvinism sees other Christians as unenlightened, and that's just a tiny half step to seeing them as not as spiritual as we are or not as serious about their faith as we are." Jay, would you say, where's this pride coming from? Is it coming from the Enlightenment, from the Calvinism, or maybe is it like something before that, and the Calvinists is kind of like, or the specific beliefs are kind of like pushing that forward, or what is that?
Yeah, so again, with that stereotype, I don't think that stereotype's necessarily true.
Okay.
I know you have a quote from a Calvinist saying that, but again, um, the number of ways in which our perceptions on some of these basic things are off is so many to count, and that's where a lot of my research is. And there's a lot of good books on this.
Okay.
Thinking Fast and Slow, Blind Spot, Predictably Irrational. And so again, when you have a large number of people, you can always find someone within a certain group that's going to agree with you with something that's false. So let's say it's completely false that Calvinists are mean. You're still going to be able to find a Calvinist who's going to agree that Calvinists are mean. And it goes all this way. So, um, but as far as the question and the pride and where does that pride come from, again, with any kind of beliefs, there's a back and forth between cause and effect. And sometimes one causes the other, sometimes the other causes, right? We don't always know the direction. So it may be that prideful people are attracted to certain worldviews, or it may be that certain worldviews have beliefs that lead people to be more prideful. So it could be either one, it could be both, right? So for some people it works one way, for some people it works the other. So it's really hard to get that and tease that apart. One thing specifically, and again, I wouldn't say this necessarily applies to Calvinists, but I've seen to notice that oftentimes people who change beliefs on something big, it's more difficult to persuade them out of it, which on the one hand makes sense because if they change their mind, they've probably done more work to come to that new belief, more study, more thinking, that type of stuff to come to the new belief than they did with their previous belief, at least in most cases. And so they're probably going to be more confident in it. But the other part is too that, right, when you change beliefs, right, and now you have a belief you think is true, then it only makes sense that you would look down on that previous belief and be like, oh, I can't believe that I thought that thing was right. Well, if now you have that bias and thought against a different view, regardless of what it is, then you're going to be hypercritical of it, and you're going to kind of hold pride in your new belief and be biased. And I've seen this a lot in debates between atheism and Christianity, where it doesn't matter which way a person goes, right? When they change views, they go from atheist to Christian, or when they go from Christian to atheist, they often become, not always, again, but I've seen a lot of them where they often become very outspoken against their previous view, and often in a way that exhibits a lot of bias, where they're showing that they didn't really understand their old view very well, or they're kind of stereotyping the people who hold that belief and cherry picking data to support what they want to believe, even though it's not necessarily true. So there's a lot that can go into that again as well, pride or whatever else. Was it? Trying to think of the quote. He said Mark Twain said something along the lines of, "It's easier to fool a person than to convince them that they've been fooled." Right. So if someone changes their views, right, they're coming out of that, oh, I was fooled, and now they're like, but now I'm not. Well, then it's going to be even doubly difficult to convince them that they weren't fooled. Now they're fooled, and right, and now they need to come back to where they were, or even try a third option, right? So they were fooled once, now they've been fooled a second time, but now they need to come to the third option, which is the real truth. Like, it gets hard. to do. And there's a lot of good reasons why people would be skeptical to change their views multiple times. And it's just easy to close your mind. It's a lot more difficult when talking in terms of the mental effort that it takes, or even the emotional kind of roller coaster that it could put you on to examine a lot of different views or opinions on all number of matters, right? Because in reality, we're constantly confronted with tons of options for tons of different views, right? From which direction route should I take to work today? Right? And maybe that's not something most people think about regularly, and they just kind of put their mind on cruise control and go, and that's fine. But then, you have, well, who should I vote for? What topic should I vote for, as far as issues, or what version of Christianity is right, or is Christianity true compared to other religions, or right, or should I get the vaccine or should I not, or should I get boosted, right? So we're bombarded with these things all the time, and so it takes a lot of mental and emotional effort to reevaluate our decisions, and or to continually evaluate them and come to good decisions. So it's a lot easier to just kind of push that off and justify what you believe, rather than honestly listening and considering other views.